for this topic, and we'll also try to understand the reasons why we will have to focus on the cost of quality in the current scenario. So the agenda for today's session would be software testing 2.2 top challenges, time for its self-introspection for the QA heads, testing priorities, logical and paradigm shift, trends from a QA head's perspective, testing solutions in a box, COQ-enabled delivery, which is cost of quality enabled delivery, and testing solutions in a box, SLA-based governance, testing solutions in a box, centralized testing, testing solutions in a box, continuous improvement, the benefits of testing solutions in a box, and the path forward. So, having said that, let me move to the first slide, which is software testing 2.2 top challenges. Today, the environment is, having a restrained budget, and there is a huge expectation on ROI. There is, there is a need to have reduced operational cost, and with zero compromise on quality. Clear communication and collaboration between testers, development, management, and other stakeholders needs to happen. Keeping testing assets up to date and optimal usage of these assets is important. Emphasis on best practices, time-tested frameworks, accelerators, and things like that is important. QA heads time for self-introspection. How do I determine the quality of the existing testing team's effort? Am I getting enough return on investment from the testing spend? Have you shifted your testing investment to earlier project phases, including requirement gathering and development? With the given budget constraints and slower economy, what testing should you eliminate, and what impact will it have on software production quality? How can you effectively implement specific quantifiable and measurable SLA-based performance systems with the existing team? Having seen both those slides, it's important to understand that today testing priorities focus on technology, resources, bug fixing, test infrastructure, and QA process, as opposed to even more vital things like cost of quality, SLA-based governance, centralized testing, and continuous improvement. So testing solutions in a box basically focuses on cost of quality enabled delivery. So with respect to cost of quality, there are different types of costs: prevention cost, appraisal cost, internal failure cost, and external failure cost. Today, trends indicate that testing and QA account for 40% of the project cost, and that 40% is spread across these areas, which is prevention, appraisal, internal failure, and external failure cost. Now, prevention and appraisal costs are, kind of mandatory costs for which spending needs to happen, but they need to be at the right level. Whereas internal failure cost and external failure costs should always be kept under check. In fact, external failure costs should be nullified wherever possible. So testing solutions in a box basically drives through cost of quality. So it is important to make sure that the right level of money is being spent on prevention and appraisal costs, and the most least money is being spent on internal failure and external failure costs. The other aspect of testing solutions in a box is SLA-based governance. So normally there is a huge interest to collect metrics. There is a huge fan following for metrics in all projects, but it is not enough to collect a bunch of metrics that won't address the business objectives and their needs. Rather, it would make sense to collect some metrics that would really help the business improve, and based on which the cost of quality and based on which the quality of the software can be improved. Now, such metrics, without just being metrics alone, should be tied to some service level agreements. So a service level agreement basically is like you have agreed for a clause for your metric, wherein, like, let's say defect density or defect leakage, for example. So if there is any defect that is found in production after the vendor signs off on testing, the vendor should take responsibility of that, and he should be tied to a penalty clause for such kind of defects that are found in production. So that is what SLA refers to, and it is important to have that kind of metrics or those kind of penalty clauses to ensure that the vendor takes more accountability and responsibility. So testing solutions in a box also focuses on centralized testing. So you could have different methodologies, different technologies, projects, and all that. And basically what we do is, we as a team have a collection of all of this. We have about 10% of domain specialists. We have a global test lab comprising of latest mobile devices and infrastructure. We have a flexible ramp up and ramp down resource model, and we also have people dedicated for security and performance testing. And we also have a center of excellence which is focused more towards innovation. And we have a centralized metrics dashboard which is track and things like that. So in a testing solutions in a box model, it is important to have centralized testing for your projects. And finally, testing solutions in a box already also focuses on continuous improvement, which is basically based on the Deming cycle of plan, do, check, and act. So the three areas where we do continuous improvement today are people, process, and technology. On the people front, we focus on training, assessment, skills enhancements, and things like that. And we also focus on defect prediction, statistical models, root cause templates in case of process. And in technology, we do have centers of excellence, accelerators, tools, and maturity index, and things like that. So the benefits of testing solutions in a box being the ownership is with Aspire. Aspire and customer together manage an infrastructure. It's an SLA-driven model, and you get access to complete Aspire assets, and the engagement model is defined, or I would call it flexible. And the path forward is the way testing solutions in a box works is you have an assessment phase, a transformation phase, operational phase, and a managed phase. So these are the set of activities that we do in each of the phases. So we get started with an assessment phase, do a set of activities, and then move on to the transformation phase, and then to the operation phase and manage phase. The managed phase is a more mature model, and that is where we want your organization to be in at a given point of time. So with that, we come to the end of this webinar. So I would have the remaining part of the session for questions.
I will request the participants to send their questions through the chat window if you have any questions to ask Vasu. So thank you everyone for joining us for this educational session. Hope it was a good learning experience to all of us. As mentioned before, we will share the recording with all of you. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, kindly email them at info@aspiresys.com. Thanks again. Have a nice day.
Thank you.